Welcome to 5 Minutes in the Word, a daily devotional in the Word of God.
Logan, when I look at Psalm 32, what I see is pretty remarkable because David actually describes himself and others as rebels. So, what does he do with a rebel?
To start off, like Psalm 51, Psalm 32 is written. Many scholars will conclude that David wrote this after his sin with Bathsheba, and the fallout of all of that, all of the consequences of sin, more or less. Um, Starting in verse 1, blessed is the one whose transgression is forgiven, whose sin is covered. Blessed is the man against the Lord, or against whom the Lord counts no iniquity, in whose spirit there is no deceit. Seems like this is maybe a foreshadowing of the events that come in Matthew 5 in Jesus' Sermon on the Mount. Um, but with that, thanks be to Jesus for uh, having or for us today, our transgressions are forgiven because of Jesus, and the Lord counts no iniquity because of Jesus' sacrifice. So thanks be to Jesus in that. In verse 3 is probably my favorite verse out of all of this. For when I kept silent, my bones wasted away through my groaning all day long. For day and night your hand was heavy upon me, and my strength was dried up as by the heat of summer. Um, Silence, when we know we have sinned, it's like a spiritual cancer. It eats away at us. I know bone marrow cancer is one of the most devastating cancers that there is, and it's literally eating away at your bones. You could fall and break plenty of bones if the case is severe enough. Um, and like a diagnosis, it can't be seen. Nobody knows that or sadly, you're riddled with cancer until it's no longer hidden, until you go to the doctor and obtain that diagnosis. Just like with sin, a lot of people don't know that you might live in sin until it is brought forth to people. And confession of that begins the healing process. It's like the chemotherapy for this cancer. And verse 5 really brings forth this idea. I acknowledged my sin to you, and I did not cover my iniquity. I said, I will confess my transgressions to the Lord, and he forgive the iniquity of my sin. Christ is like the healing process in canceling out sin. Verse 6 now, therefore let everyone who is godly offer prayer to you at a time when you may be found. Surely in the rush of great waters they shall not reach him. This seems like it's a call back now to the flood in Genesis 7. Because prior to the rain beginning, the people that Noah preached to for hundreds of years had their chance to obtain forgiveness and salvation from the flood. Had they went to God before the rain started. Once the rain started, God's judgment was already commenced. There's nothing that they could do. Um, Verse 7, you are a hiding place for me. You preserve me from trouble. You surround me with shouts of deliverance. In those first two lines in verse 7, you are a hiding place for me. You preserve me from trouble. Again, I call back to Noah and the ark. Because of the ark and God's provisions with the gopher wood and the dimensions there, Noah was saved because of the ark. The people of Israel, when they were in Egyptian captivity, Moses came and with God's help and power delivered them from Egyptian captivity. And us today, we would be lost. We would be engulfed in those waters had it not been for Jesus. So therefore, Jesus is a hiding place for me and for you. Jesus preserves me and you from trouble, and you surround me with shouts of great deliverance. This next verse, verse 8, calls back to the previous psalm that we looked at in Psalm 31. I will instruct you and teach you in the way you should go. I will counsel you with my eye upon you. In chapter 31, what we talked about last week, in verse 15, my times are in your hand. Rescue me from the hand of my enemies and from my persecutors. David's basically saying, oversee my future, Lord. Help me be the person that you need me to be and the example for others. And it's echoed here in chapter 32 as well. In verse 9, Be not like a horse or a mule without understanding, which must be curbed with bit and bridle, or it will not stay with you or stay near you. One of or my football coach had many sayings, but this one's really stuck with me through life. You have to be disciplined, coachable, and play good defense. But the first one, being disciplined, that's in every aspect of life. And I imagine this as well, because a wild bronco is not going to be tamed unless it is ridden and it's made disciplined. And same with us. We stick in the Word, we're disciplined, and the Word changes our lives, our everyday lives as well. As we conclude now, verse 10, many are the sorrows of the wicked, but steadfast love surrounds the one who trusts in the Lord. Be glad in the Lord and rejoice, O righteous, and shout for joy, all you upright in heart. Verse 10, the song, the steadfast love of the Lord never ceases, echoes to me. Because many times in life we're downtrodden because of the wickedness of the world. We have to remember the steadfast love of the Lord never ceases.
All right. So if I'm following you right, in using your illustration, the cancer of sin has a chemo that always works. It's yielding to God.